Got it. Okay, you see the counter at the bottom? It says a 5 on it.
Yes, sir.
When that says on the air, you are on the air.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's go.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Illuminating Forward, the podcast. I am Virginia McIntyre, spiritual alchemist and evidential psychic medium. And tonight we have a special treat. We have my dear friend, Colleen Irwin, who is a medium operating out of the Rochester area now, and she teaches classes. She's an author, and she has some projects in the works. I don't know if she wants to talk about them or not, but we're certainly going to give her the opportunity to do so. But I'd like to say one more thing about Colleen Irwin. Years ago, her and I were both ordained on the same day at the same place, so it's only appropriate that I asked her to come be on my first podcast show, and I'm so excited and so honored that she was able to say yes to me. And so, Colleen, welcome, and before we begin, can you first tell people where they can find you? Because I want to do that a couple times in the show so people, you know, that are only watching for a few minutes or for like a half an hour or for the whole show can have that information. So if you can tell them how to find you.
My website, which is talkwithcolleen.com. And on all social media, I am Talk with Colleen.
That is wonderful. So they can find you on Instagram. They can find you on Facebook with Talk with Colleen. You also have a Facebook group called Spiritual Journey that I sometimes post in. So I thought I'd mention that too as well. So we have a list of questions and people can call in. First, I want to give the phone number for people to call in. There's a few people that already called in earlier today, but I don't know if they're going to call in during the show because they're a little intimidated about going on the air. But the phone number to ask a medium tonight, professional medium Colleen Irwin, is 716-400-0738. That's area code 716-400-0738. So, Colleen, let's just pretend you and I are having lunch or a cup of coffee. How does that sound?
Sounds perfect.
But I want to take note of who you have in your background, which is very appropriate because this is African American History Month, and you have Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony. You want to give a little spiel on why you have them back there for your backdrop?
Well, because I'm in Rochester, New York. This little park is just a few blocks, not a few blocks, it's like a block away from the Susan B. Anthony house. And I do, on occasion, volunteer there, telling the story of Susan B. Anthony and her sister Mary Anthony, who she didn't have as good a PR rep as Susan, but where Susan B. Anthony fought for our rights, Mary Anthony was living the freedoms that we all wanted.
Really? That is so intriguing. So very, very intriguing. And so was Mary older or younger than Susan B. Anthony?
It was her youngest sister.
Really?
And it was her younger sister, and she basically was a teacher. Not a lot of people know this. She was the first female in Rochester, New York, to be paid at par to men as a principal.
Really? And women are still fighting that issue to this day. So if you can give people a timeline for that, I mean, that is really an accomplishment considering that women are still trying to get a fair wage and an equal wage to men in the year 2024. That it did happen for somebody as prominent as Susan B. Anthony's sister, Mary.
Well, and Mary also held the family together. She took care of everything back at home so Susan could go across the country, could do all the speaking. So she really held everything together for Susan B. Anthony. And they call it the Susan B. Anthony house, but little known fact, Mary was the one that owned the house.
Really?
Mary was the one that ran all the finances and did everything.
This is a great inside scoop. This is like,
I know,
really,
isn't it a fun story?
That is like really, that is really, that is like really interesting. And there also is a tie to Susan B. Anthony to mediumship as well, Colleen. I don't know if people are aware that she stayed in Lilydale. And
She came to Lilydale and spoke several times, and as did her sister Mary.
yeah. Oh, Mary too. Oh, I love
Mary
it.
spoke on the same podium as well.
I love it. And one of the houses where Susan B. Anthony stayed at is now a guest house. So you can stay in one of the houses that Susan B. Anthony stayed in. It's really interesting that Lilydale and their mediums are still going strong. And with Susan B. Anthony, Mae West, and all these other prominent figures for the women's movement, it's really interesting.
So spiritualism was about personal freedom,
Aha.
right? And if you look at the way the Anthony family was raised, they were Quakers. And they believed that the divine spark was in everyone. It didn't matter if it was male, female, black, white. It didn't matter. Everybody had the divine spark and that they were all equal.
So they believed that everybody was a spark of the universe. Isn't that fabulous? I attended a couple services done by the Quakers here in Buffalo years ago, and I found it very interesting because we stood in silence in a circle and just stood in silence for a period of time. And I thought that was really remarkable because that forces you to go within. And it also forces you to look in the eyes of the people across the room from you and see that divine spark in the other person when you have that type of silence. And really remarkable. Now, would you call yourself a spiritualist, Colleen?
Absolutely. It's who I am now. I was raised, the Roman Catholic, and very strict and very, and it just didn't work for me. For a while, I was married to a Jewish man, so I had that religious, and it just never felt right. Whereas spiritualism actually feels like part of me. It's the first religion that I understand that it's me, right? And there was a great book, and this is why I was ordained by Dan Chesbrough, and it wasn't his book. It was a book by U.S. Anderson,
This is interesting.
and it's called The Three Magic Words.
And what are the three magic words?
I am God.
Wow. Wow.
So once I figured that out, if I'm God, then you're God.
And the God Almighty, and we're all connected to the God Almighty.
So how can I hurt you? How can I harm you? How can I be?
That is so true. Father Tony at Holy Angels on Porter Avenue in Buffalo, New York, is a very dear friend of mine. He's now in New Orleans. He gives a homily where he talks about that our bodies are a holy temple. And if you believe your bodies are a holy temple, then how can you harm another person? And we're getting remarks here by Nathan. Wonderful. Thank you, Nathan. I'm glad that you're cheering us on here. Thank you so much. But Father Tony had the same thinking that you did, that if you recognize this divine spark, if you recognize that you're part of God and you are God, how can you harm another person? Because that God is in the other person, just like the Christians believe that the Holy Spirit is in the other person. Really, that is really profound. And that type of message I think we really need in society now, don't you think? With all the violence and whatever that's going on?
And I think that, we forget that people have struggles, right? And we judge people on who they were yesterday and not who they were going forward. If you look at the spiritualist principles, we all have the ability to redeem ourselves either here or hereafter.
Right.
And there are so many times that I think that we just don't teach this enough. We don't teach natural law and the understanding of natural law so that people can make those decisions for themselves. I look back at how the founders of the spiritualism religion, right? Because there's spirituality, right?
That's right.
And then there's the religion of spiritualism. And the founders of it were very much about finding new truths and growing as we understood more.
Right. Right. And, I think that if more people knew about spiritualism, I think more people would be spiritualists. Years ago and not too long ago, spiritualism was one of the major religions in this country. And I really think that a lot of people have forgotten that it wasn't the Catholic religion, it was spiritualism that was the number one, number two. In any event across the United States, it was in the top 10 of the major religions in this country.
You have to remember when it
we're getting a phone call. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Let me. Hi, you have reached Illuminating Forward in Virginia McIntyre. Who do I have on the line?
Nathan Ulrich.
Hi, Nathan. How are you? It's such a pleasure that you're calling in. Thank you so much. Have you got a question for Colleen or a comment or anything to that nature that's friendly?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Nate. Go right ahead. You can hear him, can't you, Colleen?
Yes, I can.
She can hear you.
Hi, I grew up and my mother is 50% Native American. And so I grew up as a child of two worlds in spiritualism. I grew up as a child of two worlds, and my mother, I went to the powwows with her and spent time amongst her brother and learned how the Native Americans celebrate life and how they delve into celebrating the life of people. And I also grew up in the world where I learned Christianity. And I've always felt that I was spiritually connected to people. And when I was younger, I felt like somehow I was spiritually connected, and I felt that somehow spirits would attach themselves to me. And since your guest is a medium, I would like to know why is it that spirits are so attracted to connecting to me? And I've had experiences where I felt like I could sense spirits and I could feel them, and I want to understand why they were so attracted to me as an individual, why they felt like they needed to, why I felt that presence in my life, like I could sense even where I lived or wherever I was, I could sense them.
Okay, that's a big question.
It sure is.
So one of the things that first I want to talk about is that you're spiritually wide open. So anybody that's spiritually wide open is a beacon. And spirit's like, oh, this person knows I'm here. And I can talk to them and I can communicate with them and I can be connected. So when people don't want that to necessarily happen, or it's uncomfortable, or its timing is really bad, they need to build boundaries with spirit. I call it a contract with spirit that basically says, I work with spirit from here to here. You can't bother me when I'm at work. You can't bother me when I'm in my bedroom. You can't bother me when I'm in the shower. And that helped me to be able to control that communication. And then you just have to tell them.
I felt like I've been. That's all right. I feel like I've been. It's something about me. Like maybe it's innocence. Maybe it's my ability to understand that spiritual connection. But I feel like sometimes bad spirits want to follow me, and then there's good spirits too.
So this is also about your intention. If you always walk in the white light, and that you always go with your spirit communication in the highest and best, then that kind of energy and that lower vibration won't come near you.
So it's
You
about
really have to
your
work
walk.
Huh?
You walk. It's about your walk. It's about your walk and how you manage what's going on.
Right, and how you manage it, because you're always in control, Nate. You're always in control. You know, you brought up Christianity, that you have learned about Christianity. So in Christianity, you are taught to say, "I rebuke you." It's the same thing in spiritualism. You say, "I'm in charge," and you can say, "Spirit, go away," and you say it with meaning, and the spirit will go away. It's the
So
same
one
thing
of the
with "I
things-
rebuke you." It's the same idea.
One of the things that I teach my mediumship students is you do not have to give every message from every spirit that comes to you.
Right.
You can say with love, "Not now, it's not appropriate, find another way." And guess what?
Yeah.
There's always another way for them to find the way to get the message through. You don't have
Yeah.
to be the sole purpose of it. Not now, find another way, go with love.
It-
And that's all
I
you
always-
need to do.
I always feel like spirits want to cling to me because spirits are from different worlds, and I spend a lot of time. My uncle, he's a leader in the Native American society, and he's 50% Native American too. My grandpa was 100% Mohawk Indian from New York State.
My
And-
nephew's a Mohawk.
No kidding.
Right? No kidding.
Small world.
And I've spent time with the Native American community. I have friends in the Native American community in New York, and if you've never been to a powwow, it's 3 days of noise, and the dancing, and the women's dance, and the men's dance. It's like nothing you've ever experienced. And when you hear Native American songs, especially from North America, and you're from this area, I feel connected to the land. I'm connected to the land by birth. I'm an earth child. I'm connected to everything, every plant, every tree. Some people can't say that. They can't say they're connected to the land. And that adds to my spiritualism.
Of
I
course
feel a
it does.
connection to the earth. I feel a connection to the earth itself. How many people can say that? The land in which you live in, you feel connected to every plant and every tree. And I'm a spirit child. I'm a child of earth, and I'm a child of heaven as well. And it's very difficult for me because I feel like bad spirits want to come after me.
Well, Nate, you know what you and I can do when I run into you again, because Nate is a friend of mine that I run into every now and then. Nate, when I run into you in person, I can give you some techniques that can help you with that in person. That'll be a little bit stronger than saying "go away," or as Colleen said, so you can add to what Colleen said about what she tells her mediumship students about, that was a really good way of saying it. I felt Colleen was. So I can help you with that in person. I have no problems with that. And we're going to let you go now, okay? All right?
Okay, thank you for letting me call in.
Oh,
And
thank you, Nate.
Colleen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, now.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, there we go. We did our first phone call.
Oh, we're just two modern girls.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I'm so glad that Nate called in. That was a very interesting topic, and I think that that's going to help a lot of people that'll be listening to the show that were probably too intimidated to ask those types of questions. But back to spiritualism. Now, so you consider yourself a spiritualist. Now, what is the difference? Now, I know a lot of people get this confused, so I want to ask this question, and I'd like you to answer it, even though I know what the answer is already. But I would like you to answer it for people. What is the difference? Because we've already started to talk about mediumship and that you're a teacher and you have students. What is the difference between mediumship and psychic connections? What is the difference, if you could explain that in plain terms for our audience?
First off, all mediums are psychic. Not all psychics are mediums. Okay? So psychic ability is really about connecting to the energy, maybe getting information that is from the past, present, or the future. And it kind of is just your senses, right? So, your telepathy, your all those, senses get used in mediumship. So spirits will use your hearing, your sight, your sense of smell and taste, and I just know something, right? So that's how I break it up.
That's a really good way to do it. And I do know that John White, who is no longer with us on this plane, that's exactly what he used to say all the time in circle when I sat in a circle. Not every psychic is a medium, but every medium is psychic. And that's so
right.
Perfect. That's so perfect.
Because spirit uses our psychic abilities to communicate through.
And that's exactly what happens with the four clairs. Now, I want to touch in, there's one part of you that we haven't tapped into yet. You have a column. Well, I don't know if you have a column, but you're a regular contributor to a Rochester publication on metaphysics, and I'm going to let you say the name of it. And I found your last article very intriguing about the small church. If you could expand on that a little bit, I really think that is an avenue that a lot of people across many different religions can relate to, because let's face it, mainstream religions are really hunkering down and the pews are getting emptier and emptier, and that began like in the 1950s, by the way, and it's slowly happening even more so today. So if you could talk about your magazine that you publish in and your article, that would be, I think, very interesting to our readers from all walks of life.
So I write for Rock Metaphysical, and there's writers from all over the country. I think there's a couple European writers as well. I'm not 100% sure. But that's a monthly newsletter kind of thing. And sometimes I post about mediumship stuff. Sometimes I talk about interpersonal kind of things and that, and a lot of self-care. My blog, which you mentioned, my latest blog post, which is about loving your small church.
Oh, was your blog post? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I got confused.
I'm a prolific writer. So I have tons of stuff out there. My blog has 1,300 posts at this point. So I talk about everything. But one of the things that, especially the church that I go to in Rochester, which is Plymouth Spiritualist Church, where I teach mediumship, where it's a very small group, and it's expanding, and it contracts, and it expands, and it contracts. And what I found is that spiritualism draws broken people, right? Because we finally get seen. And then these small churches are desperate for help, so they put people into positions of leadership before they're necessarily ready. So then that's where you get that expansion and contraction, because you get that human ego involved, and all kinds of problems can happen.
Absolutely.
And I just find that, you hold the steady course, and the fact that spiritualism, there's not one person that directs everything in our church. There's a committee, the pastoral committee, and we each bring in different people. Unfortunately, in January, you weren't able to come because of the snowmageddon in Buffalo.
Storm, the 3 feet of snow at the train station.
But you have different people coming in and talking every week. We have different people giving us information, right? We're free thinkers. So what we talk about makes us think, right? Gives us something to chew on, maybe help us with our own personal spirituality.
Well, you know what I found, in my walk with religious institutions, I was an ordained elder in the Presbyterian Church, and basically I was a ruling elder. So I was one of the people that basically not only governed the congregation, but governed the pastor. So what I have found is that when you have new people coming into any type of religious institution, in any organization, I imagine, with new ideas and whatever, the people that have been around for a while, they kind of like stick their feet in their heels in, and they're going, but it was never done that way, which is a big, huge creativity diffuser, that can squash creativity right away. But we need new blood. We need new ideas. We need things that are relevant to our day and age. And so it really must be more profound in small congregations of who's who and what's what and who's saying this about that one and who's doing this and whatever. It's got to be a little bit more profound than it is in your bigger congregations. It just has to be.
Right. And you have a lot of jealousy because people...
spiritual jealousy. Oh, yes.
I know.
Let's talk about that one.
You start.
Oh, my gosh. In the perfect world, jealousy does not exist. You know what I mean? Because there's really no reason to be jealous of anyone. And I like Nathan's statement here that he wrote down. We need more free thinkers. This is the truth. We really do. To solve the problems in 2024, we need new blood. Because you know what? If these organizations don't have new blood, and if they don't feel welcomed and loved and at a minimum respected and not being attacked because people are jealous, these organizations are going to die. That's what's going to happen. You'll just ruin your church or ruin your organization with jealousy. Jealousy is a green monster, and it can motivate people to do some pretty horrendous things to other people. And I've been a victim of jealousy, and in my lifetime, I'm 66 years old, and I've been a victim of spiritual jealousy. And I'm going to tell you, there have been times when I've walked out of religious institutions crying my eyes out. As a grown woman,
be that way.
As a grown woman, and then when I get home and I think about it and I see it for what it is, I go back the next day because I part of me is always a veteran, and so I think I can solve the problems of the world, but I can't. So when you deal with a small congregation, I can't imagine what that's like to be under that type of scrutiny. Where you can't do anything right.
I think we need to honor the small communities, and I think what needs to happen is they need to start banding together and pulling together instead of pulling apart. I don't.
Good point, Colleen.
I don't like your glasses, so I'm not going to come to your church again. Is kind of the thing, right? I mean, sometimes it's just,
right.
I'm boiling it down to a really stupid thing, but that's what happens, right?
That's why I'm laughing, because it's so real. It's so real. That's exactly what happens.
I don't like the way you're running this church. I'm going to go over here and start my own.
Right.
And what we need to do is stop that from happening. And as spiritualists go, oh yeah, this is not what we need to be doing here. We need to be not having these fights and doing good within our communities.
You are really right. And there's another person that's making comments right now. Her name is Jenny De Jesus. My speech impediment was coming out there, and she's saying hello, and she's saying silliness. That's silliness, and Miss De Jesus has been coming out as an aspiring medium. here in the Western New York area. She's been taking classes and, she's been sitting in circles, and she's an aspiring medium. So I'm really thrilled that she's tuning in today so she can learn some things from Colleen and get another aspect onto all this. But it is true that, I would like to say too that in small congregations, a lot of good can happen. You get that personal, attention. You get somebody taking you by your hand and making you feel wanted and loved, as well as the jealousy. You really do.
Right. Like my circle is 12 people that come and go. That are pretty consistent, and that's a nice number. Get any bigger than that in the development circle, and you can't give the personal attention. You can't.
Right, you are right. Most therapists, because I used to be a counselor, we don't want our groups over 12 for that specific reason, because you want to be able to give the personal attention and help somebody to grow, and you want to nurture that spark in them, as we talked about earlier. Now, when we talk about mediumship development, I think it's important, and I know that, because we've had conversations about this before, is that everybody's different. Every medium is different, and not only does everybody learn differently, everybody who's a medium expresses their mediumship differently. Isn't that correct, Colleen?
Absolutely. And I can remember the first development circle that I sat in. Every time they'd come to me and go, "Okay, Colleen, what do you got?" And I'd be like, "I got a rock." Remember Charlie Brown? I got a rock.
Yeah.
I got a rock. I got nothing, right? And because I was told that it was everything was hearing. Well, I wasn't hearing anything. I wasn't seeing anything. 90% of what I get is clairsentient. Highly evidential, but I wasn't being encouraged to be clairsentient. I had to find another teacher, and a teacher that had that exact experience that I had, right?
Interesting. So you found a teacher that could really relate to how you go about your mediumship. Interesting.
Right. And then from there, and you knew Jack Rudy.
Oh, Jack, I love Jack.
Right? Jack gave me the foundation, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing, I'm seeing, I'm smelling, I'm tasting.
Right.
Because all of a sudden he opened something in me that made it easier for me.
And
so
you said
you
said that at his memorial service, you said that he opened up a part of you and opened up a whole new world for you. You did say that.
And then there's the whole thing. I tell people, I might not be the teacher for you. Nothing I say could work for you, and that's okay. But listen, find another teacher. It's okay. I'm not going to be unhappy. But what I try and do in my circle, and I've got students now that have been with me for over a year, and so we have new people that come in. We keep revisiting the same topic over and over again. And if I can learn something every time I am facilitating, because I'm coming away from being the teacher and I'm facilitating so that I can teach others to facilitate, right?
Like Dr. Rochester.
Because I don't want to be the only source.
Right. And for someone to be well developed, it's like going to college. You don't have the same professor all the time, but But once we find the person that opens it up for us, like you did with Jack Rudy and like I have with other mediums that have helped me along the way, it opens up a whole new world, and we're ready to let spirit work through us to help other people. Because it's not about your ego. It's not about my ego. It's not about our egos. It's about spirit working through us to help all of us together and to help us all to as the name of the podcast goes, Illuminating Forward. But we're going to take 1 second again to tell people where they can find you, because we're like in the middle of the road, and I want people to know where they can find you, Colleen. Go ahead.
My website is talkwithcolleen.com, and all my social media is at talkwithcolleen.
Beautiful.
So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Threads,
Okay,
Facebook.
We have a phone call. Okay.
Oh, goody. Another caller.
Yes. Hi, caller. This is Virginia McIntyre with Illuminating Forward, the podcast, and you're on the air. With whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Nathan Ulrich.
Oh, Nate, you're back again. Okay, what's going on, Nate?
I had one more question for Colleen.
Okay.
She's a medium.
Yes, go ahead.
I've grown up with dream catchers, and I gave my niece and nephew dream catchers. Do you guys believe that dream catchers actually work? Because I believe they work.
I have one above my bed. I believe they work.
I have one in my hallway.
Yeah, so I guess we believe they work.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. I love you, Nate.
That makes my heart, that fills my heart full of joy. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay, and thank you for calling back, Nate. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What? That was fun. That was fun. Yeah, so now where were we with our conversation? We were
talking about development circles and, learning, and it keeps going back to...
And working, I know what I was talking about. I was talking about how spirit works through us, that it's not about our own egos, that it's about us being an instrument and a vessel for the good and for the God, for source, the universe. I believe, I don't know if anybody else believes what I believe. I believe that no matter what you call this great force, this infinite intelligence, whether it's God, Allah, the universe, whatever, spirit, whatever, it's still the same energy. That's what I believe. That's
same here. Mother, Father, Creator. I usually use that in my prayers, Mother, Father, Creator, when I do opening and closing, because it's inclusive.
It is inclusive. And, I've been hanging out with, and I probably shouldn't use such a loose term of hanging out with, but I've been hanging out with the religious scientists in Manhattan on Zoom these days. And the pastor of that center of religious science, and that's where Louise Hay was ordained in, and our friend Ron, that's where he was ordained too as a religious scientist. He believes that when we use the word God, that in some people, it makes them feel like something less than positive because they may have experienced something horrific in a Catholic church or a Protestant church or a Presbyterian church, like I did. Okay, I was a Presbyterian for years, and I finally just had to walk away. But that doesn't mean the Presbyterians are bad, Shara, because my friend Cher's here, and she's a Presbyterian. It just means that I had to walk away. So, but, so I try to use words like the Creator and whatever, but I do tend to use God a lot because you know what? I was raised that way. I still end my prayers with amen. Oh, I do. I say now, and so it is, amen. Or let it be so, or, amen. Because amen, means something else. But now I want to move to another topic of psychic fears. What is your opinion? We have all these psychic, Nate was telling me, I think it was Nate that was telling me today. Somebody was telling me today that there's a psychic fair every month in Buffalo. I think it was Nate. So what is your opinion on that, Colleen? Let's chew a little bit on that one. What do you think about it?
I pretty much stay away from a lot of them because they're very expensive to partake in.
Yes,
right?
They are. They're very expensive, yes.
So if you look at some of them, they charge you anywhere from $75 to $150 a table for a day. So
or
I won't
200.
do those psychic fairs.
Or some of them are up to $200 a day. It's really no joke.
I just don't feel real positive about it. And then I don't think that they do the advertising. I don't think they support, it's a great moneymaker for the person running them.
Well, I will say this. Tracy Bisonet here in Erie County does psychic fairs in the summer and in February, and she does a good job. She really does a good job with her Earth Spirit. I think I'm getting it right. I'm not sure. Earth Spirit Expo. She really does a good job. But I have done other psychic fairs where all they do is take my money. I've had that experience personally, and it's really turned me off. I really have to say that.
There's only one psychic fair, well, two that I do now, because there's a monthly psychic fair here in Rochester, Mythic Treasures. They don't charge any of the mediums a penny.
Really?
Because they want them in the store. They want people in the store. So we charge what we want, and I will do that. But I do another beautiful one in Erie, Pennsylvania, if I can plug that one.
Oh, go right ahead and plug it. Please do, because I've been trying to get in that one since I first found out about it.
It's called Love, Light, Heart, and Soul. It's run by Elizabeth and Tammy, and their mother-daughter team. They put so much love into that event. And they advertise it, and it's a straight 70-30 split for the mediums, and then there's a table fee for vendors. But we work all day long. We go from I think it's 10 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night.
That's a long day.
And it's a long day, and I do back-to-back readings, and I do a gallery. And it's so much fun to work in that environment because all of us have been together now. This is, I think, the 6th year that it's being held. So we've been together. We look forward to it. It's like a family reunion. They take a big picture of all of us every year. We have a ball.
I hear such, and you're not the only person that speaks wonderful things about that psychic fair. Jack always talked it up, and Laura out in Jamestown. I'm not even going to try to say her last name because my speech impediment's acting up tonight, so I won't be able to say it. But so many people have talked about what a great experience that is to work in, what a great psychic fair that is. Now, it's coming up soon, so what are the dates?
It is April. It's the last Saturday in April. I think it's April 20.
Mm-hmm. It'll be
of
here.
course, I don't have any of it. They're already advertising it, and it's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook.
So,
they're already advertising
Love,
it.
Light, Heart, and Soul.
Love and Light, Heart and Soul in Erie, Pennsylvania. Now, Erie, Pennsylvania is not that far from Buffalo, New York, so you can take a ride out there. And they also have vendors.
People that come. They've got people that come from Ohio.
Really? And they have vendors, too. They have vendors that also work that event because I was asked by Elizabeth the one year if I wanted to be a vendor, and I was afraid I was going to be put into that slot forever to be a vendor, and I really want to be a reader, so I said, no, I'm going to hold out. And I've had people talk to her about me, but the waiting list, there's other people ahead of me on the waiting list, and it's just a remarkable, remarkable psychic fair. Now, what Colleen and I do is called mental mediumship. Okay, that's what we do. Now, there's other types of mediumship. There's table tipping, there's physical mediumship, but I don't do that. Colleen, I haven't heard of you doing that. Do you do those?
I have a trumpet.
You do? Okay. Oh, I love this. This is good.
I have a trumpet. She and I are, we kind of look at each other and not much is happening with her, but it takes time. That's the one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that it takes a lot of time and
effort
to
be a medium, period.
Right. People think that, in this age of instant mashed potatoes and 3-minute meals in the microwave has killed patience.
Right. And you're learning as a medium to the day you die. until the day you leave this planet, I should say. I don't want to be so crass, but it's me. I'm right off the hip. But so we're constantly learning. We're constantly fine-tuning our instrument. So it's not something that you wake up one day and say, oh, gee, I'm a medium. No. No. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of education, a lot of experience. That's why developmental circles are so important, because I still sit in a circle. I sit with Joe Shield. That's who I'm sitting with.
You sit in a circle. You sit in a circle, right?
Oh, yeah, explain
but
that.
That's not all you do. You don't only just sit in a circle. I give my students homework, and they all look at me like, yeah. I said, did anybody do the homework? And I get this. I'm like, if you don't do the homework, it's no skin off my nose. What I give you homework for is so that you can start working with your guides.
Right. Now, yeah, you're right. Now, why don't you explain about the trumpet to people? Because I'm sure they don't understand echoplasty and all that stuff. I'm sure they'll find that fascinating.
I wish I had it up here. I have it downstairs because I take it to circle every week.
Beautiful.
So it goes to circle with me. It's just I think it's aluminum. And it's 3 pieces that go into a tube. And you're supposed to be able to focus it. And I've seen other mediums work with it where it goes up and it spins. And I have not witnessed things coming out of this trumpet, but I've heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but it takes years to build that relationship with a trumpet, right? So my trumpet and I are just babies.
Well,
and I'm doing this alone. I don't go to...
I think it's wonderful that you're establishing that relationship with your trumpet. I think it's a wonderful thing. And that's
what you do.
This is an example of you stretching yourself, and that's what mediums do. We're constantly stretching ourselves. We're constantly learning. We don't arrive and then lay down on the couch and eat a sandwich and say, oh, gee, I'm a medium. Right, because we're constantly learning. And as we learn about ourselves, the more we learn about ourselves, the more self-aware we are, the better mediums we become. But, I have one more topic and that I would like to talk about, and it's just coming to me now, is that I heard someone named Ursula speak about spirituality and mediumship. And she made this statement. So she said that not every medium that you meet in this world, because it's becoming very popular again, spiritualism, mediums, tarot readings, whatever, is all becoming very popular again. That not every medium that you meet and greet in our current society is spiritual. But she said that doesn't mean that they're a bad medium. But in her opinion, if a medium is spiritual, that has some sort of spiritual practice, that makes him or her a better medium. What is your opinion on that?
I think it does make us a better medium because we understand highest and best. We understand
confidentiality.
Oh, there are some mediums out there that do not have a code of ethics.
This is true. This is very true.
I mean, in my book, I wrote.
Hold up your book.
Realtor.
Hold up your book. We only got 11 minutes left. Hold up your book. Discovering Your Stream. Now, talk about your book right now, so people know.
It's basically a book to answer questions. So it's not necessarily meant to be read from cover to cover. I have a question about creating a vision board. Okay, go to page 100. And you have it.
It's like an encyclopedia.
Right. And then in the back of it, there's all kinds of... I hate this.
It's okay.
There's all kinds of lists of different books that I've read that correspond to what I have said so that it helps someone, well, where would I get this? where would I get more information on this topic? Well, here's what I read. Here's the books that I think are really good. Or here are books that other people have suggested that might help you on your journey.
And where can people buy this book?
They can get it on Amazon.
Discovering Your Stream by Colleen Irwin. And that's spelled capital IRWIN. Just in case you didn't get it in the blurb about what we're talking about tonight. Yeah.
And it's one of those books that is just helpful, right? And what was funny is there's a picture in our living room of me, because George was with me the day I got I can't even remember the title, what they call it, but the first draft of it, to see it, and it's in big paper.
Manuscript.
Thank you. Brain not here.
It's okay.
Right. So I go and I open it, and I'm flipping through the pages, and the tears are just pouring down my face, going, oh my God, this is the book I've been looking for the whole time I was developing. When I was trying to figure out what worked, what didn't work, how it made sense, this is what helped me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So everybody knows where they can get that book, and they know where they can find you. And you do believe being spiritual will make you a better medium, I think that it would make you a better medium, because if you have a spiritual practice, you're always shooting for the star. You're always shooting for the brass ring. You're always shooting to be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. And so therefore, not only will you be a better medium, you'll be a better person if you have a spiritual practice. And I know, and I was telling Nate this morning, now this conversation is coming back this morning with Nate, that I told Nate this morning that I meditate every morning. And if I don't meditate, like let's say I oversleep or whatever, I can feel it in my bones. If I don't do my spiritual practice every morning, I can feel it in my bones. It directly affects on how I operate in the world. And the first thing I'll do is try to go lock myself in a bathroom and try to take a few minutes to meditate. But but everybody's different. Sometimes I'll drum, sometimes I'll sing, because I used to sing for the Catholic Diocese when I was a little girl. But I smoked, though, so I have a raspy Carol Channing voice now.
Well, I find that when I crochet, that's when
Sheer, who's watching tonight, she said that we're having interesting topics. She's an avid crocheter, and she's an avid spiritual person as well. And I bet that she would agree with you about that crocheting and spirituality playing out.
Well, I'm very left-brained, right? I'm a triple Capricorn. So my sun, my moon, and ascent are all in Capricorn. I am all about control. And mediumship is all about not having control, right? So my left side of the brain has to be occupied in order for this side to work.
Right. That is really amazing. So you find it like your crocheting helps you tune into your spirituality, or helps you wind down from your it helps you reconnect. Okay.
Because my left brain is busy, and my right brain is left to go.
Right.
That's why I can't sit in a guided meditation. It's like I've got ants in my pants.
Well, a lot of people can't. Meditation isn't for everyone.
And that's why it doesn't have to be sitting cross-legged, listening to somebody. It could be walking in the woods. It can be crocheting.
Walking meditation, right.
It could be woodworking. It could be,
or getting into the flow with woodworking or an artist. I'm a visual artist, and I have been in what he said. I can't pronounce his name, but we used to call him Smith in college. When he was the one that defined flow, and flow is when you lose connection with everything that's here on this plane, and you go into another dimension, and you can do that through art. I did that many times in my life, and I still do it. And that would happen in crocheting, it happened in painting, it happened in woodworking, and that is a spiritual connection. I really do believe it. I really do believe
Well,
it.
I do a lot. I make a lot of hats and stuff when I'm doing readings, and they're on the phone. I'm crocheting as I'm doing the reading. But
because that puts you in.
I'm-
Because that puts you in that place. They put you in that place. Now, some
and
mediums.
I know
Go ahead.
some mediums do puzzles.
Some mediums, my friend Jill, God bless her, she's no longer with us, she would always meditate directly right before she gave a reading. Directly right before. It had to be like, I'm meditating, I'm giving a reading. So that's the same principle. You're crocheting and you're giving a reading.
Jeff used to meditate when he would cut his grass.
Yeah.
He would tell me, he's like, I got to go meditate. Oh, cutting the grass again?
When I was in Standing Rock, it was very difficult for me because I hardly had any sleep because they made me one of the lead counselors, and they also put me in charge of something else at the same time. So at one time, I meditate so strongly that I went into the bathroom, locked myself in a bathroom stall, put a sign on the door and said, "Do not disturb under any circumstances. I am meditating." Because I knew that if I would go without sleep for so many days as I did in Standing Rock, I at least had to meditate, because once you meditate, your brain does rest. It does rest. And sometimes it's as good as sleep, but it's not interchangeable. But if you can't get your rest, if you can't get your sleep, go meditate. And at least it helps me. But everybody's different, just like everybody's different with the 4 clears, right? In mediumship, right? So we only have like 3 more minutes, but I don't see the people here that are going to tune us off, but I want us to be prepared that we're going to be turning off soon. So why don't you tell them one more time where they can find you, Colleen?
I am on the web with talkwithcolleen.com, and every social media platform I'm at Talk with Colleen.
And what is the name of your book again?
Discovering Your Stream.
And it's available on Amazon?
Amazon, yes.
And what is the name of the magazine that you publish sometimes in?
Rock Metaphysical.
Yes, and on Colleen's website, she has a blog. This is true. She has a blog. So you can go to her website and you can find a library of things to read about that she's written about. She is actually a very skilled writer. That's one of the things that she does.
And I do weekly affirmations.
Oh, yes, you do. You are doing the weekly affirmations. Yes, you are.
So,
Yeah.
so there's my weekly affirmations. There's stuff about mediumship, self-care, and some of the stuff that I've gone through with my own health issues. So,
Yeah. Nate says that he hopes that your book is good, and Miss De Jesus says, or cleaning in general. Sometimes, I see what she's saying. Sometimes I do it while washing dishes. Okay, or cleaning in general. That helps her to go into like being in touch with spirits. Yeah, sure, Jenny. That would definitely work. Whenever we have our mind going off into another place, that's when spirit can speak to us and give us new ideas. In the creativity world, they call it incubation. In the spiritually word, we call it being available for spirit to work through us. Because I have a master's degree in creativity and change leadership. And that was probably one of the smarter things I ever did, Colleen, was to get my master's degree in creativity. I really learned a lot about myself, and I learned that the way I was my whole life, where people thought I was a little odd, I was actually highly creative. And it was really a sweet homecoming for me. and it helped me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really helped me to feel a little bit empowered. That I was this highly creative person, and that in certain walks of life I would be very sought after. Nancy Lockwood says, "Thank you, ladies. I found this interesting." Well, Nancy, thank you so much for telling us that you found this interesting. Now, it says that we only got 50 seconds left, but I don't know. I don't know where the people are that are manning the radio station. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Let me take this opportunity to thank you for honoring me with being your first guest.
Well, I figured that I needed you to be. Here he is. I figured I needed you to be my first guest because we were ordained at the first time too together. So I thought this is like a walk that we've been doing at like in different places, and sometimes we run into each other and sometimes we don't. But it's always a pleasure to reconnect with you, and I'm looking forward to speaking at your church in May. I really am.
Yes. We're looking forward to having you.
Okay, and Richard is back. So, Richard, we're ready to wrap it up. We got
You see that little box with the buttons on it in front of you?
the box with the buttons on in front of me.
Look toward me.
Look towards you.
See there? It says Stream Deck. You're almost touching it.
This one? Yeah.
There's a fade to black.
That's it, yeah?
That's what that'll take you off the air.
Okay, well, end the show.
Bye, everybody.
I love
Thank
you,
you.
Colleen. Thank you, everyone.
Peace. There you go. If you want to say goodbye to your friend.
Oh, we've already said goodbye.
Okay.
Okay, bye. I'll see ya. Have fun.
Bye.